Welcome to the Enterprise Fleet Summit. Today we are joined by Tyler Harden, the Chief Product Officer at TTN Fleet Solutions. Thank you so much for joining us today, Tyler.
Yeah, thanks, Mary. Always happy to be on FreightWaves TV and looking forward to seeing everybody virtually on the show.
I am excited to get into today because I love, first personally, I think I'm one of like the three people in the world that actually like Brake Check Week or Brake Safety Week and International Road Check Week. I like them. I think it's cool. I like learning about all the different things that they're focusing on that week. I know we're going to get into some of the finer details of that. But before we get too far, let's get some background on you and how you got started at TTN Fleet Solutions.
Yeah, so I'll give you a little personal background. So I'm third generation in the business, heavy duty towing, roadside mechanical, and in-shop mechanical, specifically, transportation. And so kind of born and raised on it. I was born in Central California and still have businesses, family businesses in that location, servicing trucks and fleets alike. Went to Shortly after high school, went to diesel technology school at UTI. So I do know enough to be dangerous about trucks, which is nice. It's good in my profession. And then about 5 years ago, joined full time at TTN. And my family had been kind of a board seat at TTN since its existence. But 5 years ago, moved to Texas from California and started learning the business a little bit more and kind of growing into it. And today, sit as a product officer of the company, and my focus really is sales and marketing and product development, and just kind of understanding, really how the industry is changing. There's lots of changes happening. It's always changing in logistics, but in maintenance specifically, lots of things that are existing that we have to solve. They keep coming up, but also new stuff that's coming through too. So anyway, keeping the company up to date on those and keeping good solutions forward for our customer.
There's two events that the CVSA, the Commercial Vehicle Safety Alliance, has every year. We just had Road Check Week, although it's like 72 hours. We all call it Road Check Week. And then in the fall, they always have Brake Check. So what is kind of the significance behind Brake Check Week, and why is it more important than just an inconvenience?
Yeah, it's a good pulse. It's a good pulse on how we're keeping track of our trucks and how we're keeping the motoring public safe. It's probably the biggest thing. As a service provider and as somebody that's been in the business my whole life, 88.4% is not a good number. And I would hope people recognize that, and we're trying to do different things there. I mean, I think it starts with the driver. Obviously, it's important that we support those drivers and understanding, and with education, huge on what brake adjustment looks like, what the brakes are supposed to do, how they're supposed to work, those types of things. But it was pretty astounding number, and I'm not really familiar historically, but I did look at this year's, and it um, out of a 5,000 truck you know um, segment, if you will, of kind of just putting a pulse on the industry as far as brake check goes, and having an 88.4% success ratio, it leaves a lot to be desired. And so, I think it's just awareness, number one, and number two, what we're doing is we're making sure that people understand there's resources for help, and roadside breakdowns are part of that. And let's try to prevent some of that stuff before it happens. But overall, the brake check week is really just a good view into what's happening.
I like Brake Check Week because it also seems to kind of encourage those to kind of get some of the maintenance they've put off. And obviously your big maintenance of oil changes, tires, et cetera, et cetera, those you can't really put off because then your truck ceases to function. But some of the maybe like lights or other sensors or other things that are fine if they're just a little, they need to be replaced, but they're not at the top of the list. It's not affecting the drivability of it. I like that. I like that brake check, and I like that we have brake check and road check week because it really forces people to kind of do that maintenance that they've put off. Have you guys like do you see people kind of come up with maintenance schedules around these two main events every year, or is it just kind of a people have a maintenance schedule and maybe they'll just schedule it a little earlier around break check week?
Yeah, as far as scheduling goes, it's something that is ever changing, right? It's always adjustment, and it's good to point out too, freight rates and as they are fluctuating, and we know that that there's a lot of challenges out there today. That's why I stay so close to FreightWaves. You might go, well, why is a maintenance guy even on this thing? Well, I mean, because it matters, right? And we're a very small percentage of the P&L with a truck driving up and down the road, but there's a large impact that maintenance can have, especially if it happens while you're under load or while you're trying to deliver freight. And so the deferred maintenance is probably what you're leaning into, Mary, is that, and the answer is yes. As rates are less or demand is much higher, there's some deferred maintenance that happens. And so how and when you get that done, I think you need to have a strategy that's flexible. I think you need to have one that you hold yourself accountable to, right? Accountability is really about clarity and buy-in. So does everybody have a safety culture as far as maintenance goes, and are they bought into trying to make sure that we maintain the trucks that go up and down the road? And then about the flexibility, that's where TTN serves probably the best for our customers, the fleets that work with us, is that flexibility. So we can be flexible to your schedule, where you are and what you need, and I think that's pretty profound. And last point on this is, JB Hunt did a 660 minutes of driving. This is way back in 2015, but I recently reread it, and the white paper really kind of talks about what a driver's day is like. And what stood out to me the most is, if you go back and read that paper, there's 150 minutes that is on duty but not driving. So I believe that 150 minutes is a huge opportunity of looking at where you could install some maintenance. Obviously we want to maximize the drive time to be with freight, right? We want to move stuff. But the 150 minutes where we're not moving, maybe we can install some solutions there. So I'd pose a good question of how you can leverage that 150 minutes to this enterprise fleet.
I like that. That's kind of because obviously you can't account for traffic. Like you cannot account for just someone being stuck in a traffic jam, but stopping for like if someone breaks down on the side of the road or other stuff like that. I think that there's a huge room for improvement in a lot of areas within the actual component of a driver picks up a load and delivers a load. There's so many rooms of improvement for time management in there, and I'm not even going to get started on reducing detention at a warehouse because I'm sure everyone would love if we could get that under control.
Well, and that was the intention, I think, was how improving driver efficiency increases capacity. That was the intention of that white paper. I just saw it as, in the maintenance side, is okay. And I always look at stuff like, how does maintenance and unplanned maintenance specifically, because that's where I'm at, how does that impact freight schedules and freight delivery overall? And so those are all the things that I look at as I'm developing products and trying to figure out how we can give the driver the best experience, but also make sure we deliver on the promise of the profit and loss statement for a trucking company. I mean, you gotta make money while you're moving freight, and so we want to make sure that those fleets stay in business longer, right? And so I think that's something that I always look at.
When since you know that I'm gonna call you a specialist in unplanned maintenance, and I feel like that's a very good jack of all trades thing of just making something happen. Have you guys seen a decline in these unplanned maintenance or roadside maintenance events now that telematics and kind of like AI for maintenance has taken off? Have you seen any kind of correlation there, or is it still you're still going to have your tire blowouts, you're still going to have these issues, kind of regardless of any telematics that said like, hey, this you might not want to put this truck out quite yet?
Yeah, as we were discussing earlier, Mary, when you were talking about your example where there's a driver doing maintenance, and you're like, really, you just did maintenance 2 weeks ago. It just depends on the workload, right? And so when you use something, it needs to be maintained. And when you don't maintain it, it will fail at some point. Even if you do maintain it, it probably fails at some point. Things like batteries and alternators and things like that, they have a lifespan. And so when you're trying to get the most out of your truck, trying to get the most out of your fleet, the most fleet life, you could have the best maintenance program in the industry, yet still have roadside breakdowns. And so it's more like, hey, plan to fail, fail to plan type of thing. It's more like, hey, make sure you have a resource, a good partner, a good network of service providers, somebody that is there for you, or an internal offering that's there for you that can kind of carry you along. Because I think roadside breakdowns will happen; they'll continue to happen, even as we go through in the future. With alternative fuels and different things like that, unless we start flying these things around, they still have a rubber tire that hits the ground, which means they still have suspension, hopefully, and stuff like that. So there's just those products that'll be out there that you need to maintain, and so I hope that not just for the business sake, but I hope that we can install more unplanned maintenance into making America run freight around the country. I mean, that's really what it is.
I I think that the day that there is no more breakdowns or roadside assistance will be a very I don't think that day will ever happen because like you said, you're older like the trucks are on the road, something like there's nails, there's construction, there's accidents, there's a whole host of unpredictable activities that yeah, you can, change your oil regularly, change your tires, change your brakes, get everything like that, get all of that maintenance that you can control done, but out outside of what you can control, you truly can't control it. You just have to say, well, I hope it doesn't happen too often.
Yeah, and look, like, again, it's utilizing your resources and being prepared and having a good resource to take care of you when you need it. That was kind of the biggest thing. My grandfather, when I was lucky enough to work with him. I told you I was third generation. I was lucky enough to work with him for a number of years, and you know, he says, "Son, in this business, you're not going to get rich, but it'll make a heck of a living for you." And which again, back to your point, why am I still here? I don't know, but I love it. I love the industry. I love helping people. I love building solutions. Our whole company does. We've got a team of great leaders behind us, and so we're excited about supporting transportation and logistics and hopefully making lives easier when something bad happens roadside.
So if someone wants to reach out about those solutions, or if they might need a good roadside, a little good roadside helper, where can they find you outside the summit?
Uh, so a couple of things, and this is me probably speaking directly to somebody that's in charge of innovation, in charge of a P&L line item in the maintenance department. If you're looking for alternative resources that you want to try to change and do something differently with your unplanned maintenance, you definitely need to reach out to me directly. You can also look at ttnfleetsolutions.com. There's a bunch of information on there. But I'd love to have a conversation of what you guys see from an innovation standpoint in your businesses and how to move forward with the maintenance planning. And then furthermore, I would just say if anybody's interested in how unplanned maintenance works, I'm always up for a good conversation over a cup of coffee. So anytime.
Awesome. Thank you so much for joining us today on the summit.
All right. Thanks, Mary.
Stay tuned for all the other fireside chats. We have some amazing content coming your way.